Now, I've been a big fan of Huawei's wearables for several years now, so I was as happy as a puppy with a fresh new pillow when the Huawei Watch 3 was finally launched. However, starting from 349 quid, the Huawei Watch 3 is a proper wallet emptier, just as expensive as the Apple Watch and other premium smartwatches. So the question is it actually worth that cash? Well, I've had the Huawei Watch 3 strapped to my wrist for pretty much the full month since my unboxing video. So here's my in-depth review, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now, first up, I've got to point out that this right here is the active model, which is the cheapest of the bunch. You can also grab the Huawei Watch 3 in classic brown, which is an extra 30 quid. Otherwise, if you've got a spare £430 knocking about, you can get the Steel Elite model. And unlike some previous Huawei watches, this one is only available in a 46mm size, but that's not all bad news if you do have childlike spindly arms such as these, because the Huawei Watch 3 is slender enough to not look ridiculous. And at 54 grams, it certainly ain't too hefty either. I've got to admit, I just forgot that I was wearing it most of the time, and that's not actually down to booze-related memory loss. And as you'd kind of hope, the Huawei Watch 3 boasts a premium design to match that premium price even in this most affordable active model. That stainless steel case has a glossy finish that so far has repelled scratches and dents, while that 3D curved glass is also reassuringly durable. And it's also water resistant to a depth of 5 atmospheres or 50 meters, which means you don't have to bother removing it if you're gonna soak in a nice hot bubbly bath, jump in the shower. You can also use it to track your swimming sessions. And if all of this still doesn't look and sound quite as premium enough to match your own highly exquisite taste, then you can grab the Huawei Watch 3 in a Pro edition too. And this slightly bigger model boasts sapphire glass, a titanium shell and ceramic backing as well, and it's yours for a mere £500. Definitely orphans at the ready. Now, the strap you get bundled with the Huawei Watch 3 will depend on the model that you choose. This active version comes with a fluoroelastomer effort that's comfortable to wear, even if you rarely take the watch off. The classic version of the Huawei Watch 3 comes with a nylon strap, and meanwhile that Elite model comes with a stainless steel link bracelet, which will look really dapper on a Friday night down the discotheque. Now, I'm a massive fan of that 1.43-inch AMOLED screen, which is powerfully bright, absolutely perfect for those moments that the sun decides to actually peek out from behind the thunderclouds. And the 326 pixels per inch resolution keeps visuals sharp, while colours are rich and attractive. And those viewing angles ain't off bad either, considering you've got the 3D curved glass. There are plenty of watch faces to choose between, with some very attractive animated efforts pre-installed, plus the option of adding hundreds more from the online store, more than enough to cover all tastes. You can even craft your own from a photo. And Huawei helpfully points out during the selection process which of these watch faces are more power intensive as well, just in case you get a nasty shock when half your battery's gone after just a few hours. The always on display option matches your main watch face, which is a nice touch, and you've got the usual raise to wake gesture control, which works perfectly. Now, this is the first Huawei smartwatch to come packing its new HarmonyOS UI, and I've got to say there's a lot to love in there. Quite a lot of it is quite similar to previous Huawei smartwatches with that custom UI anyway, but there are some issues that definitely need resolving. And incidentally, if you do want a full tour of that UI as well, I've done an in-depth look at all of the different screens and features and such forth in my unboxing video, so go check that out. Now, first up, the grid launcher for your apps is pretty much a direct copy of the Apple Watch effort, and it can be just as confusing even before you download any fresh apps. You've got a good selection pre-installed, including plenty of fitness tools. You've got an altimeter, a compass, a voice memo jobby, timers, all of that good stuff. So pretty much all of the apps and features you would find on previous versions of Huawei smartwatches, but you've also now got the Huawei app gallery as well for downloading fresh apps onto the watch at any given moment. That's a feature that you did not have on previous smartwatches. However, as it is still very early days, I gotta say it's a very sparse collection compared with what you'll get on the likes of Wear OS or the Apple Watch. I struggled to even find half a dozen that I was interested in downloading and using. There's subtle support for major music streaming services, so you'll have to use Huawei Music basically, although you can at least control whatever you're playing on your smartphone via the watch as usual. You'll also find a few exercise apps on the app gallery, but nothing revolutionary. There are very few games and other entertaining bits to while away a spare 5 minutes. And of course, give it a bit of time and I'm sure things will improve mightily, but right now the Huawei Watch's app selection is pretty sparse and pretty dire in fact compared with a lot of the competition. The Huawei Watch 3 sports a rotating crown for navigation, but the grid setup of the apps menu means that all the crown does there is zoom in and out, which is kind of pointless. Although the crown can be very useful when you're scrolling through fitness apps if your hands are all sweaty, or to navigate about the watch menus when your screen is wet. Now the Huawei Watch 3 can actually work as a standalone communicator as it's got built-in eSIM support. I believe it's Vodafone only here in the UK that supports that eSIM functionality however, whereas I just paired mine with a variety of smartphones and used it more as a secondary device. And I found I had no trouble pairing up with any of these smartphones, and also jumping from one smartphone to another was just a case of disconnecting and starting up again. I didn't have to reset the actual watch itself, which was fantastic. The only issue I had was I had to download the Huawei Health app in APK form direct from Huawei rather than going via the Google Play Store. Otherwise, for some reason, the Google Play version just would not connect to this watch. The Huawei Watch 3 has Wi-Fi support if you want direct internet access without eSIM, but if you do have eSIM activated, then you can actually take calls through the Huawei Watch 3 because it does have a built-in mic and speaker. Now the speaker is actually fairly loud and the clarity is not bad at all considering the size of this device, and also the microphone did a pretty good job of picking up on my voice even in a fairly noisy environment. And just as a demonstration, here's one of those voice memo jobbies that I recorded on the Huawei Watch 3 using the built-in mic, and as you can hear, nice and crisp and clear through that speaker as well. You can also use that mic to communicate with Celia, Huawei's spunky voice assistant, if you really want to, although sadly she's about as helpful as a brothy made of sherbet. So generally Celia works fine for the simple stuff like, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow?
The weather in Farnborough will be slightly cloudy with a high of 20 degrees Celsius and a low of 13 degrees Celsius.
So yeah, that's one in the bag. That was accurate, but also she sounds about as excited as a teenager reading out her essay on 17th century agricultural techniques. But then if you try anything a bit more tricky, that's where it all falls apart. So for instance, when is the English...
I'm having some trouble doing that. Please try again a little later.
So for instance, when is the English football team next playing a match?
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
What date is the next England football match?
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
Okay, let's try another one. Are there any good burger restaurants nearby?
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
Are you okay? Do you need your medication?
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
Notification support works a charm, even if, as usual, you can only view what's coming in and not actually do anything with it. As usual, Huawei has absolutely nailed the fitness features on the Huawei Watch 3. Just a little tap at this bottom button here calls up the workout mode, which has over 100 different types to choose from. You've got 17 professional and 85 custom efforts, so basically whatever you're into, it's almost certainly covered by one of these options. And again, just check out my unboxing for a closer look at this side of things. And I certainly do like the tracker once you get going as well. You get regular voice feedback on how long you've been exercising for, your current heart rate. You'll get warnings if you hit your maximum threshold heart rate, which you preset via the app. All the information you could possibly need, or certainly that I needed at any given moment, appears there on the screen, nice and clear and legible. And also found that the GPS tracking was pretty accurate, and also the swim tracking seemed to be bang on as well. Now, one of the new features compared with those older Huawei watches is the temperature sensor for continuous skin temperature tracking. And you would think in a post-COVID world that could be quite a useful feature, but unfortunately I found that I got very different readings, usually within a short distance, even if I just took them 5 minutes apart when I was sat on the sofa doing bugger all, usually a good 2 or 3 degrees difference. You've got continuous 24/7 SpO2 and heart rate monitoring, and that all works as expected as well. Seems to be nice and accurate with strong visual representation right there on your wrist. So far the Huawei Watch 3 actually not too dissimilar from previous Huawei watches, but unfortunately the bit where it really disappoints is the battery life. Huawei reckons you get 3 days of full-on use with all of the features active. It's actually up to 3 days. What you tend to get with this thing, what I certainly got, was around 2 days of use, and I'd generally be scraping it through that second day as well. And that really is a serious disappointment compared with past Huawei watches like the Huawei Watch GT2 Pro, absolutely fantastic smartwatch, which generally lasted at least a week, sometimes 2, depending on what features you had active. So I basically did generally end up charging up the Huawei Watch 3 every night just to be on the safe side, and that meant unfortunately I couldn't use features like the sleep tracking very often. Not really bothered about that though, because whenever I did use it, it tends to think that I was asleep when I was actually just splayed out in bed, staring up at the ceiling, praying to God for my brain to shut the fuck up so I could just get a little bit of kip. And there is an ultra long battery mode if you do find you're out in the sticks, you don't have the option of charging it up when you need to, and this just culls a lot of the features like the modem, some of the more battery draining features. But then to be fair, if you're going to spunk up a load of cash on a Huawei Watch 3, you're going to be wanting to use those more premium features, otherwise what's the point? But on the flip side, at least you do get reverse wireless charging support here on the Huawei Watch 3, so that's nice. And that right there is my final full 1 month review of the Huawei Watch 3, and I gotta say I like it, but I would definitely rather just go back to the Huawei Watch GT2 Pro with its excellent battery life. You don't have the option of expanding the apps on board, of course, because there's no app store, app gallery support. But right now, that's not really much of an advantage anyway, and the likes of the skin temperature sensor doesn't seem to really work as well as it probably should do if you want to actually use it as some sort of medical tool. But there is a lot to love here, and hopefully give it a bit of time and HarmonyOS will be right up there with the likes of One UI, which I'm very excited to try out, and the likes of course, good old WatchOS. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? It'd be great to hear your thoughts down below. If you've actually been testing out the Huawei Watch 3 yourself, it'd be great to hear your thoughts. And for more of the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a fine ass rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you.